Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt that the person staring back isn't quite who you're meant to be? That behind your eyes, beneath your skin, there's another version of you, stronger, clearer, more alive, waiting to emerge? Most people see the mirror as something that judges them, but what if it's actually trying to teach you? What if your reflection is not an image to perfect, but a message to interpret? You see, your appearance is not just how you look, it's how your soul chooses to show itself to the world. Every gesture, every glance, every detail of your presence carries the story of your inner life. When you become addicted to your appearance, not in the shallow sense of vanity, but in the sacred sense of devotion, you begin to master the art of self-awareness. You stop hiding from yourself and start refining yourself. The mirror is no longer your enemy, it becomes your greatest teacher. Today, I want to challenge you to see your appearance differently, to understand that the way you present yourself is not decoration but declaration. Because when you learn to honor your reflection, you don't just look better, you become better. The mirror stands before you not merely as an object of reflection, but as a portal into the depths of your unseen world. It is a silent observer that does not lie, that does not flatter, that does not conspire to comfort your illusions. Each time you gaze into it, you are not only confronted by your physical form, but by the echo of your inner life. The face you see is not just a face, it is a map of your experiences, the architecture of your thoughts, and the residue of every emotion you have ever refused to feel. The lines, the tone, the tension in your expression, all whisper the story of how you have been living. To be addicted to your appearance in its truest form means to become deeply fascinated with this reflection, to study it not out of vanity, but out of curiosity for the self that hides beneath the surface. The mirror reveals how faithfully the body carries the truth of the soul. When your eyes are weary, it is not only from lack of sleep, but from the weight of unseen burdens. When your posture collapses, it is not just fatigue, but the silent evidence of resignation. The mirror becomes a psychological instrument, translating the unspoken language of your unconscious into visible form. It is not merely glass, it is a stage upon which your inner conflicts perform their silent dramas. To stand before it honestly is to invite awareness. Most people avoid this confrontation, not because they do not care about their appearance, but because they fear what their reflection might expose. The refusal to look is often the refusal to know oneself. The mirror, therefore, demands courage, for it reflects not only your beauty, but also your brokenness. There is an ancient connection between the face and the soul. In every culture, people have instinctively known that the face is not just flesh, it is expression made eternal. When you are at peace within, your appearance radiates harmony. When you are at war with yourself, your reflection bears the marks of chaos. This is why beauty cannot be fully painted, dressed, or sculpted. It must be summoned from within. The mirror shows you where you have aligned with your truth and where you have betrayed it. It reveals when your smile is genuine and when it is a performance. Every encounter with your reflection is an encounter with your authenticity. To be truly addicted to your appearance means to become fascinated with that authenticity, to refine it daily, to nurture it as you would tend to a flame that gives light to your path. The mirror does not separate the physical from the spiritual, it unites them. It reminds you that your appearance is not some detached shell, but the living expression of your consciousness. The skin, the eyes, the gestures, all are instruments through which your inner music plays. When you neglect your appearance, it is often because you have lost touch with your inner rhythm. You stop caring for the outer self because the inner self has gone silent. But the opposite is also true. By tending to your appearance with care and devotion, you awaken dormant parts of your soul. You start to remember that your body is not an obstacle to your spirit, it is its instrument. You start to notice how your energy shapes your physical form, how every thought leaves a trace upon your posture, how every belief molds your expression. The mirror does not simply show you what you look like, it shows you what you have accepted about yourself and what you have refused to heal. Your reflection becomes a living text, a spiritual manuscript written in skin and eyes and silence. Through it, you learn that appearance is not vanity, it is revelation. It is the visible proof of your invisible world, a language through which your soul attempts to speak to you every single day. Addiction, in its ordinary sense, is often seen as something destructive, an enslavement to impulse or desire, but the kind of addiction that elevates you, the one that reshapes your destiny, is not the hunger that consumes you, but the devotion that refines you. To become addicted to your appearance is not to worship the surface, but to commit yourself entirely to the process of transformation that your image represents. It is to treat your body and presence as sacred vessels of your becoming. It is not the shallow obsession of the ego, but the disciplined practice of the awakened self who understands that how you appear in the world is the reflection of how deeply you have aligned with your inner truth. This addiction is the alchemy of self-awareness. It turns vanity into vision, impulse into intention, and flesh into expression. In this deeper sense, addiction is simply repetition charged with emotion. It is the energy that makes you return to something again and again, unable to rest until you have absorbed it fully. Most people are addicted to distraction, to self-doubt, to the illusion of unworthiness. But imagine redirecting that same intensity toward the cultivation of your presence, toward becoming so attuned to your appearance that every gesture, every glance, every breath becomes deliberate. This addiction would no longer drain you, it would feed you. It would not enslave your will, it would sharpen it. You would no longer dress to impress but to express. You would no longer maintain your body to please others, but to honor the divine energy that animates it. This is not vanity, it is reverence. True addiction to appearance is a form of spiritual discipline. It means waking each morning and asking yourself, what version of me will the world meet today? It means refusing to let negligence or apathy blur the image of your becoming. It is an act of devotion to self-mastery, where every decision, how you speak, how you walk, how you hold yourself, becomes a conscious ritual. To be addicted in this way is to treat your reflection as a work in progress, sculpted by time and intention. It demands that you listen to your body, not as an ornament but as a messenger. When you feel heaviness, it tells you of stagnation. When you feel light, it tells you of alignment. This addiction is awareness practiced through form. To transform addiction into devotion, you must see appearance as more than aesthetics. Appearance is the boundary where the invisible meets the visible. It is how your inner frequency finds physical form. Every time you improve how you look, not for validation but for truth, you are declaring that your outer life will no longer betray your inner evolution. You are saying, let the world see what I have become. This kind of addiction purifies. It removes the chaos of neglect and replaces it with the order of care. It replaces the dull repetition of insecurity with the vibrant rhythm of growth. The world often confuses self-love with arrogance, but the difference is intention. The arrogant dress to dominate, the awakened dress to embody. The arrogant seek attention, the awakened seek alignment. To be addicted to your appearance is to understand that every detail of your external self can be a symbol of your internal discipline. The way you groom yourself, the way you maintain your posture, the way you carry your energy, these become statements of your consciousness. They announce without words that you are present, deliberate, and awake. When others see you, they are not merely witnessing your beauty, they are feeling your order, your clarity, your self-respect. This form of addiction demands patience, because transformation is never instant. You cannot rush the evolution of presence. It grows through daily choices. The food you eat, the sleep you allow, the words you speak to yourself when no one listens. Each small act becomes a prayer, a declaration of commitment to the higher image of yourself that you are still becoming. You polish your appearance, not because you are dissatisfied with who you are, but because you refuse to stay unfinished. Every day you return to the mirror as an artist returns to the canvas. Correcting, refining, elevating, the addiction becomes creation, and creation becomes liberation. When you fall in love with your appearance in this sacred way, you begin to dissolve the separation between body and soul. You no longer inhabit your form reluctantly but with reverence. You no longer wish to disappear into the background of life, but to stand firmly as a conscious manifestation of your purpose. This addiction becomes your alignment with existence itself. It reminds you that the divine does not hide in abstraction. It reveals itself through form, through presence, through beauty that radiates from order. To become addicted to your appearance, then, is to become devoted to your evolution, to chase not perfection, but wholeness. The way you carry yourself, the way you move, the way you inhabit your skin, all of it communicates your relationship with your own existence. When you look at yourself, you are not only seeing who you are also seeing who you are becoming. Every reflection is a dialogue between the present self and the potential self. It is an invitation to evolve, to align your outer image with the vision you hold within. Your reflection is always a few steps behind your consciousness, always trying to catch up with the growth that happens in silence. By studying it, you begin to understand the process of transformation. You begin to notice how inner clarity softens the face, how purpose sharpens the eyes, how peace steadies the breath. The mirror records your evolution without judgment, and it rewards your honesty by showing you exactly where you stand. To become addicted to your appearance is to form a sacred relationship with your reflection. It is to greet it each day as both a companion and a teacher. You begin to realize that beauty is not a mask, but a mirror of inner order. Not attention, but authenticity. It is to see your body not as a disguise for your soul, but as its most eloquent expression. When you stand before the mirror, there are parts of yourself that you instantly recognize and accept, and then there are parts that make you look away. Those are the shadows, fragments of your psyche that you have exiled into silence. The shadow reveals itself not through darkness but through discomfort. It is in the wrinkle that reminds you of time passing, the scar that recalls your vulnerability, the eyes that carry exhaustion you pretend not to feel. Every detail that you reject in your appearance is a doorway into deeper understanding. The reflection that disturbs you the most is the one that speaks the loudest truth. When you feel the urge to turn away, it is not because the mirror has betrayed you. It is because it has shown you something you have not yet accepted about yourself. The addiction to appearance begins when you stop running from that truth and start studying it with compassion instead of judgment. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the part of you that longs to be integrated. You cannot fully know beauty until you have faced what you believe is ugly. The blemish, the imperfection, the imbalance. All of these are teachers. They reveal the emotions you have repressed, the memories you have buried, and the standards you have unconsciously inherited from others. When you learn to see your reflection without resistance, you begin to see how your appearance has been shaped not only by genetics, but by the invisible weight of your history. The tension in your jaw speaks of anger you never expressed. The slump in your shoulders whispers of responsibilities that became too heavy to bear. To be addicted to your appearance is not to endlessly chase an ideal, but to become endlessly curious about what your reflection is trying to communicate. Every flaw carries a message. The pimple that appears on your face before a significant event, the dark circles beneath your eyes after nights of anxiety, the stiffness that settles in your neck after years of pretending to be composed, these are not accidents. They are the language of the unconscious, seeking expression through the body. The mirror becomes the medium through which your hidden emotions make themselves known. Most people seek to cover, conceal, or correct what they see, but those who are truly devoted to their appearance do not hide from it. They listen. They use the mirror as a tool of self-discovery, not self-condemnation. The addiction becomes a practice of awareness, a ritual of reconciliation between who you show and who you truly are. Your reflection is a psychological landscape. Some parts of it are illuminated by confidence, while others are veiled by shame. You might see the outline of your potential shining through your eyes, but you might also notice the dullness of forgotten dreams. The face that stares back is not static. It shifts with every thought you have about yourself. Each moment you criticize your appearance, you reinforce division between your conscious identity and your hidden self. Each moment you meet your gaze with kindness, you bridge that gap. The addiction to appearance, when understood deeply, becomes an act of healing. It invites the shadow into the light. It teaches you that self-care is not the same as self-escape. When you learn to see beauty in what you once rejected, you begin to reclaim the fragments of your power scattered across your own reflection. The shadow teaches humility. It reminds you that perfection is not the goal. Wholeness is. Every human being carries both grace and imperfection, both strength and fragility. When you accept this duality in yourself, your presence becomes more magnetic. People are drawn not to flawless faces, but to those who have made peace with their humanity. There is an authenticity that radiates from a person who has confronted their shadow and chosen to embrace it. Their appearance may not be perfect in the conventional sense, but it carries depth, a kind of beauty that transcends symmetry. This beauty arises from self-acceptance, from the refusal to hide, from the courage to be seen fully. The addiction to your appearance must therefore be an addiction to truth. It is a commitment to seeing yourself clearly, even when what you see is uncomfortable. It is the recognition that your physical self is a living record of your emotional and spiritual evolution. Each time you face your reflection without flinching, you dissolve another layer of illusion. You begin to realize that beauty does not come from removing the shadow, but from integrating it. The darkness does not stain you, it completes you. The mirror then becomes not a place of judgment, but a place of dialogue, where the conscious and unconscious meet, where your visible and invisible selves learn to coexist. When you can finally look at your reflection and see not flaws but the story of your becoming, you will understand that the true purpose of appearance is not to conceal imperfection, but to illuminate the journey of the soul through form. Energy moves before words do. Long before you speak, long before you explain who you are, your appearance has already spoken for you. The way you carry yourself, the way your body moves through space, the way your face rests when no one is watching, these are all languages of energy. Appearance is not limited to fabric or features. It is a vibration that your presence emits into the world. Every individual radiates a field of energy that others unconsciously feel, interpret, and respond to. You have experienced this yourself. When someone enters a room and, without saying a word, changes the atmosphere entirely, it is not their beauty that does it, nor their words, but the force of their being expressed through appearance. When you become addicted to your appearance, you are not chasing a superficial image, but cultivating that field of energy that reveals your inner alignment. Your appearance becomes an aura shaped by thought, emotion, and discipline. It is not the shape of your body or the symmetry of your face that defines it, but the invisible quality that flows through them. When you are at peace, your movements become graceful, your gaze steady, your presence magnetic. When you are in conflict with yourself, your body betrays that confusion. It tightens, contracts, and shields itself from contact. This is why true beauty cannot be faked. You can polish the exterior, but if your inner state is chaotic, the energy leaks through. To master appearance, therefore, is to master vibration. To bring the body, the mind, and the spirit into one coherent frequency. Every act of self-care, every moment of awareness, every breath taken with intention contributes to this coherence. You cannot hide the energy you carry. Even the most practiced smile cannot disguise inner heaviness. People sense what you do not say. The energy in your eyes tells stories that your lips never utter. That is why tending to your appearance is not just about grooming, but about cleansing your energy. When you stand in front of the mirror, you are not adjusting your hair or your clothes. You are aligning your energy field. You are asking yourself, what am I radiating? And what truth is my presence communicating? The addiction to appearance, in this sense, becomes the addiction to clarity. You refine how you present yourself because you refuse to send confused signals to the world. You want your outer image to be an honest reflection of your inner order. Energy responds to attention. Whatever you focus on expands. If you see your reflection with resentment, that vibration grows stronger and begins to project itself outward. If you look with appreciation and curiosity, your energy becomes luminous, and others feel it without knowing why. To be addicted to your appearance is to pay continuous attention to this exchange. It means you are aware that your body is not just flesh, but a transmitter of energy that either nourishes or depletes every space it enters. The more awareness you bring to your physical being, the more control you have over the energy you emit. This is not control through force, but through harmony. You do not impose beauty upon yourself. You cultivate it by aligning your energy with authenticity, presence, and purpose. When you understand appearance as energy, you realize that the smallest gestures matter. The way you walk into a room, the tone of your breath, the light in your eyes, these communicate more powerfully than any words could. You can inspire confidence, trust, and peace through your presence alone, or you can transmit fear, insecurity, and chaos. The choice is yours. The addiction to appearance becomes a lifelong art form, an ongoing refinement of how your inner essence meets the external world. Every day becomes a performance of truth, not for others, but for yourself. You begin to dress in alignment with your energy, move in rhythm with your intention, and speak from the center of your being. The mirror ceases to be glass, it becomes an altar, a reminder that your physical form is sacred because it carries the unseen. When your energy is aligned, beauty emerges as a natural byproduct. You no longer chase attractiveness because your aura already contains it. People are drawn to those who are whole within themselves, whose energy feels clean, stable, and alive. This is why some faces remain unforgettable. They carry the quiet intensity of someone who is completely at home in their own skin. Their appearance radiates not effort but essence. This is the addiction you must cultivate, not to cosmetics or approval, but to the purity of your vibration. To rise each day and ask, what am I emanating today? What emotion does my presence transmit? What truth does my body tell without my permission? To become addicted to your appearance, then, is to understand that your appearance is energy made visible, a message sent by your soul to the world, one that you write anew every single day with the light of your consciousness. There is something sacred about the way a person begins their day, the quiet rituals that unfold before the world intrudes. The way you care for your appearance in these moments is not mere routine. It is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. Every act of grooming, every choice of clothing, every gesture of preparation carries a certain energy that shapes the rhythm of your mind. When you look at your reflection and take a moment to care for it, you are not indulging vanity, but practicing reverence. These small rituals are the foundation of self-respect, the tangible evidence that you consider your existence worthy of attention. The person who neglects their appearance is often the one who has forgotten their own significance, while the one who tends to it with presence remembers that they are a vessel of something valuable, something divine. Rituals are not meant to be mechanical. They are moments of consciousness woven into the fabric of daily life. When you wash your face, you are cleansing more than skin. You are symbolically clearing away yesterday's noise, the emotional residue of doubt and fatigue. When you choose what to wear, you are selecting an identity for the day, deciding how your energy will greet the world. The addiction to appearance, when understood in its higher form, is an addiction to mindfulness. It is the awareness that every detail of how you present yourself communicates how deeply you honor your existence. To approach these acts with care is to transform the ordinary into the sacred, to turn the mirror into a sanctuary where body and soul meet before the day begins. Self-respect grows from consistency. The person who commits to daily rituals of care begins to form an unspoken agreement with themselves. I am worth the effort. That repetition reshapes the mind, creating a structure of discipline that quietly strengthens the spirit. You begin to move differently when you know you have shown up for yourself. Your posture becomes more grounded, your gaze more assured, because the act of caring for your appearance is not about others. It is about proving to yourself that you are reliable, that your well-being matters. This is how addiction transforms into devotion. You start to crave that moment of stillness before the mirror, that conversation between your inner voice and your outer form. It becomes a kind of meditation, a way of centering yourself amid the world's chaos. Your appearance, in this sense, becomes a reflection of how you treat your boundaries. When you neglect yourself, you signal to the world that others may do the same. But when you maintain your image with quiet dignity, you set a standard that others instinctively respect. This is not about arrogance, it is about alignment. You do not need to demand respect when you already embody it. People can feel the difference between a face that has been hurriedly assembled and one that has been prepared with intention. The first carries the energy of survival, the second radiates the energy of purpose. To be addicted to your appearance means to choose purpose over passivity every day, to use your physical presentation as a reminder that your life is something to be honored, not endured. Every culture, in its own way, has understood the power of ritual. Ancient warriors would prepare for battle by painting their faces, monks by shaving their heads, leaders by donning garments of significance. These acts were not about vanity, they were about identity, consciousness, and readiness. When you prepare yourself each morning, you are doing the same. You are saying to life, I am ready to participate fully. The mirror becomes the altar, the brush your instrument, the breath your prayer. This is why people who are careless with their appearance often feel disconnected from their own power. They have forgotten the ceremony of becoming present. The addiction to appearance is the rediscovery of that ceremony, a return to the daily act of honoring your body as the container of your consciousness. There is an elegance that arises from such devotion, a quiet confidence that no external validation can create. You begin to realize that you are not dressing up for the world, you are dressing up for your soul. You polish your shoes not for attention, but because you want every step to carry intention. You arrange your hair not to impress, but to express the care you give to your existence. The more attention you give to these acts, the more they give back to you. You begin to feel in control, not because you dominate the world, but because you have mastered yourself. The addiction becomes a rhythm of grace, a way of living where every detail of your appearance is a reflection of inner harmony. When you treat yourself as sacred through your rituals of care, the world begins to reflect that same reverence back to you, recognizing in your presence the quiet authority of someone who has made peace with themselves. There exists within every human being a vision, an image of who they could become if they fully stepped into their power. It lives quietly in the imagination, appearing in flashes when you look into the mirror and think, this is not yet me, but I can see who I am meant to be. That vision is not fantasy. It is the blueprint of your higher self, calling you to evolve. To become addicted to your appearance in the highest sense is to become addicted to bringing that inner image into form. It is the act of sculpting your reality until the person you see in the mirror finally reflects the person you have always sensed inside. This addiction is not about perfection but alignment, not about chasing beauty but embodying truth. It is the lifelong process of transforming imagination into presence, potential into expression, and self-concept into living art. The ideal you see is not random. It is the echo of your essence trying to reveal itself. You are drawn to certain looks, certain energies, certain aesthetics, because they mirror the qualities your soul wants to express. The disciplined version of you, the graceful version, the radiant version. These are not distant fantasies. They are hidden aspects of who you already are. To pursue them is to peel away layers of resistance and reveal what has always been beneath. Every act of self-improvement, every small step toward refinement, is a dialogue with this inner ideal. You are saying, I have seen what I could become, and I am committed to meeting it halfway. This commitment demands consistency, because transformation is not an act of willpower alone. It is an act of embodiment repeated daily until it becomes natural. Addiction, in this sacred sense, becomes the fuel of transformation. You wake up each day driven not by dissatisfaction but by devotion to your potential. You begin to crave the feeling of becoming, the slow unfolding of your best self through deliberate action. The body becomes your canvas, your habits the tools of creation. Every healthy choice, every hour of rest, every mindful gesture is a stroke of paint upon that canvas. The addiction grows not from insecurity, but from fascination. You want to see how far you can refine yourself, how deeply you can synchronize your inner and outer worlds. It is no longer about appearance as decoration, but as manifestation. The visible proof of invisible progress, the image you are addicted to, is not only visual but energetic. You imagine a version of yourself who moves differently, who speaks with clarity, whose presence commands respect without effort. To reach that state, you must first cultivate it within. The ideal becomes a compass guiding your actions, showing you what to release and what to strengthen. If the image in your mind radiates confidence, then your task is not merely to mimic confidence, but to live in a way that produces it. If your ideal exudes calmness, then your practice must become stillness. The addiction to your appearance, when understood this way, becomes the addiction to integrity, to ensuring that what you project outward is consistent with what you cultivate inward. There comes a moment in this journey when the outer world begins to respond differently to you. People notice something changing but cannot quite define it. It is not only your look, it is your energy. You are beginning to inhabit the ideal rather than chase it. The reflection that once felt foreign now feels familiar. The gap between who you are and who you wanted to be starts to close. Not because you forced transformation, but because you lived it. This is the hidden power of devotion. The more you honor the image of your higher self, the more it becomes real. The addiction becomes a form of worship, the consistent honoring of your potential until the divine within you is fully visible to the human eye. But this addiction never truly ends, because there is always a higher image waiting to emerge. Each stage of becoming reveals another horizon. The person you become today will one day outgrow the mirror's current reflection. The addiction then evolves. It ceases to be about appearance and becomes about mastery. You no longer chase beauty or admiration. You chase depth, coherence, and radiance. You live in a constant dialogue with your ideal, refining it, embodying it, transcending it. Every version of you becomes the foundation for the next, until your appearance is no longer something you maintain, it is something you emanate. To become the ideal you see in your mind is to dissolve the distance between vision and reality. It is to live as evidence that imagination can become flesh. This addiction, when pure, leads to liberation rather than enslavement. You no longer wear masks because your outer form is finally honest. The mirror no longer intimidates you because it no longer lies. It simply reflects the truth you have worked to reveal, that beauty is not found in seeking approval, but in embodying authenticity. And so you continue the ritual, each day refining, not out of vanity, but out of reverence, because you have realized that the most sacred art you will ever create is yourself. When you finally understand the depth of what it means to become addicted to your appearance, you realize it was never about mirrors, fashion, or admiration. It was about awakening, It was about remembering that your outer world is the reflection of your inner order, that your body is the living temple of your consciousness, and that how you appear before the world is a silent declaration of your self-respect. This addiction is not to vanity but to growth, not to perfection but to presence. It is the devotion of becoming a masterpiece in motion, crafted not by ego but by awareness. When you choose to care for yourself deeply, to embody your ideals, to bring harmony between the seen and unseen, you step into alignment with your true self. The mirror ceases to be glass, it becomes truth, and in that truth you discover power, confidence, and peace. So let this not be just a speech you've heard, but a realization you carry. Let every glance in the mirror remind you of your potential and your worth. Become the living proof that beauty is born not from appearance alone, but from authenticity, discipline, and devotion. Stand tall, look into your reflection, and recognize the divine art staring back. It is you becoming more of yourself each day. Good luck on your journey of transformation. May you never lose the hunger to evolve, the courage to face your reflection, and the grace to love every version of who you have been and who you are becoming. Thank you for listening, and may your reflection always remind you of the light that lives within you.